From this module, we learned what it means to look into our organizations using a special set of frames and the skills that we need to be a systems thinker. Allow me to present some of the tendencies that prevent leaders from being able to see how elements in our organizations are interconnected to each other. First, focus only on what is critical. With the number of theories, information, and experiences that we have, it is easy to get overwhelmed by the situation. The easiest route to take is to focus only on the most critical and the most urgent situation. In certain cases, like in an emergency or what we are going through right now in this pandemic, focus on what is critical, is practical, and what is most needed given the situation. In an emergency, you need to avoid the complexity and focus on what is needed at the moment. But in the more common or natural circumstances in our organizations, focus on the most critical leads to quick fixes. I will even say that working on the urgent and important is the easy route. The accompanying danger of choosing to work only on the present situation is that leaders would tend to not pay attention to the other information that would prove to be critical in making a decision regarding the situation. Second, focus on our own bias. We have mentioned that servants toward leadership should be the only kind of leadership because other motivation or reason for leadership does not really lead to flourishing. Leadership that is not motivated by service and stewardship will avoid going beyond your own self and taking the extra mile. When this happens, leaders will not look at the situation using the 4 frames simply because it would take more effort from them, and instead use only their own biases. Other leaders would not take the time to evaluate each situation and how it is connected to other areas, and instead see them only through their own perspective. They would not take the effort to look beyond their own prejudgment. Third is defaulting to policies. Policies are great. They help keep processes orderly and decision-making easier and faster. But policies should not prevent us in making decisions. Policies are meant to guide our decision-making. There are principles behind the policies that we make or follow. They were not created in a vacuum. The problem is when policies are just passed down to subordinates without explaining the principles behind the policies. I understand how having clear-cut policies will help individuals carry out their duties, but it stifles empowerment and making the best decision for the moment. Later in the ethics module, we will learn more about the values of making good decisions. But basically, the point is that if leaders or those who implement the policies will be able to make good decisions based on principles and not just following policies, then the people in your organization will trust your leadership. Unless perhaps you have thought of all possible cases and scenarios and have carefully diagrammed the decision-making flowchart, then policy should serve as a guide. Not all situations are subject to scrutiny or to be treated on a case-to-case basis. But there are situations that we get to serve best our people by understanding the situation and make decisions rather than just defaulting to policies. I'm not advocating going around policies or finding loopholes. Hear me out. Policies are meant to empower people, not to make mechanistic decisions that is void of thought, heart, and service to your people. Again, if you are not motivated by service and stewardship as a leader, you will avoid taking responsibility and taking the extra effort to make those difficult decisions. What do you think are the reasons why leaders would default to policies instead of a decision-making process? What other tendencies do you have that prevents you or the leaders in your organization from seeing the organization from different frames and as an integrated system?